The pharmacy is now open.
Hey everybody, welcome to VGRx, your weekly dose of video game news and insight. My name's Brittin. I'm excited about today's show, and I will tell you why in a minute, but first I want to tell you who else is here with me today. We got the regular cast of characters, Dan the Man.
Yo.
Zach Attack.
Hey, what's up?
And Scott Bot.
Close enough.
Best I could do.
What's up? I like that, like, your hesitation. You looked at me with hesitation. You're like, what am I going to say?
Ad-libbing here.
Yeah,
It's the best I
like
could
it.
do.
It's
Really,
okay.
I think what it
Improv.
was is that he forgot what your name was for a second. He was like,
I was gonna-
is that guy?
I was going to
over
rhyme
there?
something with Scotty, but
Uh-huh.
all that came to mind was body.
Or Potty.
Scotty the Body
Or Scotty the Potty.
didn't really work for me.
That one
so
I'm typically used to hearing about.
I wouldn't do that to you.
Thanks, buddy. Well, hey, before we get started, you went on vacation.
Well, wait.
You weren't here last week.
I wasn't, and
Yeah.
I missed you guys dearly, but I was
Aw.
doing something very, very fun.
Don't worry, we replaced you with someone way lower quality than you.
Wow,
so.
thanks.
Yeah, you're
Although
welcome.
I heard the show, and Brooksy was great.
Yeah, he was
knew,
great.
He knew his stuff.
He
Yeah,
did.
he did.
I was impressed.
That was a really good episode.
I had a lot of fun with it.
Yes, I did as well. Talking about Dota is one of my favorite things of all time. But
Yeah.
you were gone. Tell us a little bit about
Well,
what
first,
you were doing.
I just want to say this. The reason I'm
Okay.
excited about today's show is because for 4 or 5 episodes now, we've done kind of different things, structured things. We did a look back at 2017, a look forward to 2018. We
Oh,
did
that's
a personal
true.
episode where we talked about ourselves. We've done 2 episodes on esports. We haven't done an episode where we've just kind of talked about whatever we wanted to talk
Old
about.
basement room format with one
Yes.
microphone.
I miss
Yeah.
it.
Oh
so
man, okay, we can go back to the basement. We can stop the episode right now.
I think we can have that experience here in this nice, awesome
Okay.
studio.
Okay,
so
we'll
let's
do
just do that.
We'll do that.
But yeah, I just got back from Disneyland, and if you guys will indulge me for a minute, I'll tell you a little bit about it.
I am counting
'Cause
down
it was
60
so much
seconds.
fun. Give me a little more than that.
Okay, how about 90?
Deal.
Okay, let's go.
I'll probably go past that.
Okay, that's fine.
First of all, I just want to say the Disney magic is alive and well. I've been to Disneyland at every stage of life. I went as a kid. I went as a teenager. I went as a young married man, and I've gone now twice as a
an
father.
old married man.
Yeah, basically, with kids of my own. And there's something there that's fun and exciting and magical for anybody of any age, at least for me throughout my life. And it's not just the rides. There's so many cool experiences there. There's shows. There's ad-lib shows that just happen on the side of the road. I was sitting next to a fountain, and a streetcar rolls by, and there's like old-timey newsies, like newspaper delivery boys in the streetcar holding newspapers out the window. They jump out, and they start doing a street performance, and they're singing songs from Newsies and some other classic movies. It was just so much fun. And I'm a sucker for musical theater, so that kind of stuff hits me hard. We saw almost a full-length stage production of Frozen, which, say what you will, I like that movie, and I really like the music. So
I like the movie
We
too.
had fun with
I'm
that.
there with you. Air high
cool.
five.
Yeah, up top.
Boom. Killing it.
And then, of course, the rides are fantastic.
Were you waiting in tons of lines though?
We went at a good time, I think. It
Okay.
was late January, early February, and we didn't wait longer than 20, 25 minutes in any line. And they do something called Fast Pass, which you're probably all familiar with, but you get a ticket and you come back later and you have to wait in a much shorter line
Yeah.
to get on the rides.
I remember
and it's
that,
awesome.
too.
And then here's a little Disney hack for you. You may already know this too, but you can get in a single rider line for most of the rides. And it's just, I'm riding by myself. There's an extra seat in this roller coaster, so they'll throw you on right up front.
Yeah.
So the big scary rides that no one else wanted to go on with me, I went by myself, and I
Nice.
was able to hop right on them. One such ride, Indiana Jones, which have you guys been to Disneyland?
I've been
I
there
know
one
Zach has.
time.
I've been a few times.
Has anyone been on that ride?
Yes.
I think I did. I can't remember. It was like 2 years
Yeah.
ago.
Okay. It's a fantastic ride. It's
But is that Disneyland? I thought that was Universal
no,
Studios.
no. Indiana Jones
What
is
am
a
I
ride
thinking
that's
of
been
it?
at
Oh, I know what I'm
Disneyland for
thinking
a long
of at
time.
Universal Studios. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so it's a great ride. It's kind of like you're following Indiana Jones on an adventure through this temple, and it sort of recreates some great moments from the film series as well. And I had a cool experience on it because it shut down while I was on it. We had just pulled out of the starting area, and the ride stops moving. Couple seconds, we think, okay, this happens. Sometimes they have to slow it down to help somebody on or off. And it's just sat there for like 10 minutes. And we go a little further. We get in this hallway, and again, it stops. And all these big floodlights came on. So I kind of got to see like a behind the scenes stuff you don't normally see parts of the ride, because it's normally a pretty dark ride and it's atmospheric, but all these lights came on. I could see everything around me, and it was kind of a different look at it.
That's not something that happens a lot at Disney. They're
I don't
very
think
careful
so.
to not let you see behind the scenes.
Right. So I don't know what had happened to prompt this, but it was a cool take on it. And then we get a little further. It starts moving again. The lights go down. We get a little further. And 3 or 4 times throughout the course of this ride, it stopped on us. And it was almost always at kind of cool parts. Like right as we're rolling into the area where there's darts blowing past you, it's stopping intermittently. So, I mean, I know there's no darts there, but I kind of felt like, wow, this is creepy. I something could hit me.
So it's just stopping and
because it's just
going.
not the kind of ride you expect. Yeah, and then we get to this part. You guys are familiar with the boulder, of course, the boulder scene from
course.
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Wait, what's a boulder?
It's a big rock.
Thanks.
So there's this part in the ride where Indiana Jones is hanging from his whip up above the cart, kind of, and in front of you see this giant boulder rolling toward him and you. And we pull up in front of it like you normally do, and the cart is supposed to like go down a little ramp downward underneath it as it rolls towards you. It starts rolling, and everything just goes black. We could see nothing at all. And this giant boulder's rolling right toward us, and our car had stopped at that point. So there's like this psychological connection, this phantom pain that's happening. You're like, this thing's going to take me out. And it was kind of creepy. But then also, while we were frozen there, somebody took their cell phone and turned the flashlight on their cell phone, shined it up at Indiana Jones on his rope. And he's still doing his creepy animatronic movements in the pitch black. And you could see the shadows cast on the walls around him. It just made this already kind of creepy atmospheric ride that much more intense.
Oh, why didn't you record it? That would have been awesome.
I should have been the guy with my phone out taking a little video of this.
That sounds like some Five Nights at Freddy type stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. That's totally the vibe it gives. So that ride was a unique experience. And then after we pulled back into the unloading area, they said, "You guys want to go again?" And of course, they sent us on again. I hesitated because I wanted to get back to my family. It had been like almost an hour at this point, but I decided, yeah, of course. So we rolled through again. There was no more stops, but it was a cool like behind the scenes look at the way some of the stuff in those rides work. It was awesome.
Awesome.
Some of the big rides were shut down, unfortunately, like Splash Mountain, which bummed us all out.
It was too cold.
You take that risk when you go, I guess, in off season. Things just shut down.
And there's often like one ride that's not in service basically any time of year.
Yeah, you just have to roll the dice. There's plenty to do, though. We had so much fun.
When I went in October 2 years ago, like, I don't think any of the rides were shut down, and there was no kids there, no lines, no nothing.
October,
I was like,
huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was
I
fantastic.
think October is right towards the end of normal theme park season.
Kids are going back to school, everything, and I went in
They
like
do
a
deck it out.
weekday.
They deck it out for Halloween, though.
Oh,
So you
I
must have
know.
been there right before that crowd
Right.
sort of showed
Yeah,
up, I guess.
I bet you're right. I bet it's right after Halloween is when they start to really get into maintenance and stuff.
We went on the Nightmare Before Christmas ride, and it was all different from what it normally was. It was awesome.
That's the Haunted Mansion, right? They
Yes.
kind of retrofitted that as
Yeah.
Nightmare Before Christmas. That's cool. That's cool. Well, I won't waste any more time
you're
on
fine.
this video game podcast bantering about Disney, but it was fantastic.
Disney makes video games, so I'm
That's
sure
true.
it'll be relevant, even if it's
Hey,
not relevant this episode.
Do you guys want to talk about Kingdom Hearts really quick? Just because
Oh yeah.
it makes sense right now, don't you
The
think?
trailers
It
just
does.
dropped. 2 trailers just dropped.
Okay, and before we get to those trailers,
We're going to pause for a second.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to pause for a second.
Yeah.
Go check
because
those out.
right here, if you don't want any spoilers for the trailers beforehand, that's like all we're going to talk about for the next few minutes. So
Yeah. So
pause,
give
go
us-
watch it if that's important for you. And
If that's
yeah.
important for you, you've likely seen it already. But
That's
this is a
true.
good disclaimer.
We're going to give you 5 seconds starting now. 1, 2, 3, 4,
I mean, they've had like
5. Okay,
30
so now we're
seconds
going to talk.
already.
You know how pause works, right, Scotty?
What's a pause?
Nothing. Go
Okay.
on.
So let's talk about Kingdom Hearts. This is one of my favorite game franchises of all time.
You take over here, man,
Okay.
because I like it, but I think you've got this on lock.
Okay, so I've been really looking closely. And speaking of Kingdom Hearts, before we really get into it, I kind of wish Brooksy was here because he is
I thought about having
obsessed.
I thought about recommending that we bring Brooksy on today, but we usually go a few episodes in between when Brooksy comes back.
He's
He
busy
was here
anyway.
last time.
Yeah,
and
he's
he's
busy today anyway. So how do I even begin this? So
well, you could talk about monsters, I guess, because that's kind of the highlight of the trailer, right?
Yes. For people who don't know, there's already been a couple worlds that have been announced. Tangle's been one. Toy Story was in the trailer before these two. We know Hercules is going to be in this game as well again.
Hercules has been in all of them, right?
Yes.
The Colosseum?
Yes, the Colosseum. But this one seems to be taking a different turn from what the Colosseum normally is. Because at the Colosseum, you're normally just fighting waves of monster or like Heartless or Nobodies or whatever bosses. But this one seems to be taking kind of a different turn. We don't know too much about it. The next big one was Toy Story. I was super hyped about that when I saw it. All the characters look awesome. And if they get like some of the original voice actors for...
I feel like they'd have to.
Why are you so loud?
I feel like they'd have to get the voice actors, right?
They would have
I mean,
to.
those are big names, big budget actors, but
Tom
this
Hanks,
is Disney.
Who else? Tom Hanks.
Tim Allen. Who's the guy from Cheers?
What's Cheers?
George Wendt, or is it John Ratzenberger? One of those. He's in all of the Pixar
No
movies.
one knows what Cheers is. You're the only one.
Oh, yeah, I'm
because
old. I
you were
forgot.
old, yeah. And then, so Toy Story, and then we just found out that we're going to get Monsters, Inc.
Which is awesome.
So, yes, which is very awesome. What is it? Is it... Oh, man. I'm going to sound like an idiot. It's Pixar, right? Monsters Inc. is Pixar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, what are you confusing it with?
It's
always all Disney. You know that.
I know it's all Disney, but I know way back when those movies came out, it wasn't Disney and Pixar. They were two separate entities.
I think when Monsters came out, Disney already owned Pixar, but there was a point when they just worked together.
There was a point, and then everyone gets booty tickled about it if you say it wrong too. Like, I don't know why. But Monsters Inc., they showed some of the designs for like Sora, Donald, and Goofy as monsters.
They look crazy.
Yes, they look.
I love it.
They look crazy.
Yeah, it's. I mean, they're still the characters, but they look very different.
Yeah.
Does that happen in a lot of the worlds? I guess they get like mermaid tails when they go to. What's that movie? Little
Mermaid?
Yeah, shocking.
You're
I
a
can't
dad,
believe I
right?
couldn't think of that. Yeah,
you should know all.
I
the
could
Disney
sing all the
princesses.
songs right now if you wanted me to.
No, please don't.
But I won't.
I'm begging you not to.
All right, good.
No, but they change from different worlds to worlds. Not all of them, but a good chunk of them. So, like, the Toy Story one is going to be different. The Monsters, Inc. one is going to be different. But that has to do with, like, the setting they're in. So, you know, in Toy Story, they're toys. They're miniature. So they're made to look small. In Monster Hunter, wow, you can see where my
Monster Hunter on the brain.
Sorry, yeah, I have Monster Hunter on the brain. When you're in the Monsters, Inc. world, everyone's a monster. There's no humans besides Boo, the one human. Which that was something I wanted to kind of touch on. Is it looks like this is going to be taking place during when Boo is there during the actual first movie,
which is usually how these worlds go, right?
Not all
you
the
normally
time.
see like a story play out from a part of the movie at least?
For the most part, yes, but I believe they announced that Big Hero 6 is going to be in the next game, and they said it's going to be a sequel to the first movie.
That's what Brooksy was telling me.
So completely different story from the actual movie, but for the most part, yes, they do normally take a good chunk of the movie out and place it into the game.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. I'm really excited for it.
Any new like gameplay hints or stuff we didn't know about the combat or mechanics?
We
in
saw
these trailers?
Riku for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was for the first time, and I think it was the first time we saw King Mickey as well. We did see one area in the second trailer that was you saw already in the second game of Kingdom Hearts, and we don't really know what it has to do with the whole story, but it's a place that we've never really been to. I think you go there in Birth by Sleep, but not in Kingdom Hearts 2. I haven't played every single one of the Kingdom Hearts games.
Where's Brooksy when you need him?
Brooks has.
Brooks has one left to play.
Does he?
Hasn't played yet. I think that's what he told me. And I'm sure that he'll correct me when he listens to our podcast.
Probably.
Later,
he's going to castrate me. He's going to be like, you're an idiot. Don't ever talk about Kingdom Hearts ever again. You're no fan.
Well, none of us would have done any better. So
yeah,
this is fine.
fair
Did
enough.
we get a release date from either of these trailers?
No.
Still.
I
don't think this game's coming out this year.
No, they say E3 they're going to be dropping the release date this year.
And it'll likely be November, December if it is this year.
Probably holiday season, yeah.
No
but
doubt.
Is that a bad thing? We're getting Kingdom Hearts 3.
Take the time
they
need.
Yeah, so
and
that's something I wanted to touch on actually, is that for anyone here who hasn't followed anything about Kingdom Hearts for a long time, it has been something
It's
like
a meme.
12 years or 14 years since Kingdom Hearts 2 was released.
I don't think it's been that long.
It's been
Two
a
was it was a
long
Look it up.
PS2 game. It
Look it
has
up.
been that long.
When did Kingdom Hearts 2 come out? Look it up. Okay, cool. Zach left, so my sister's here doing the
Yeah.
looking up things for us.
But in any case, it's been ages. It
Yes.
has been a very,
Release
very
date
long
was
time.
December 22nd, 2005.
Oh wow,
Nailed it,
December
Dan.
22,
Holy crap.
2005. So yeah,
Since a proper
we're,
numbered
we're
entry.
12 years out right now.
Yeah, that's insane.
Probably close to 13.
So
if
what's
it
another
releases
year?
this year?
I don't want to talk
So
about it anymore. It
and
makes
so
me
that's
feel
why
old.
that's why these trailers are such a big deal because
Yes.
all we've gotten before was like 3 years ago, something like that. At
Little
at
things.
E3, they said
They showed the
yeah,
tower
we,
from Tangled.
we are making Kingdom Hearts 3. And before that, it was just assumed that it would eventually show up.
Yeah.
but they had actually announced it.
And they're like, yeah, we're
10
doing
years
it
after the fact.
We're doing it. Well, I mean, that's the same to be said with shoot, I don't remember the game right off the top of my head. It was kind of supposed to be like the successor to Shadow of the Colossus. It was like a game that was
yeah.
teased back in E3 like for
Yeah,
15 years ago.
The Last Guardian.
Thank you. Yes.
That game was in development for 10 years, I believe.
Yes, it was
Got
stuck.
canceled twice.
Yeah,
Right.
It was stuck in development hell for
Yep.
sure, but it did come out. So, crossing fingers.
And then it wasn't received all that well. Let's hope that's not the story with Kingdom Hearts
I don't
3.
think so. I think
It looks
from
very promising.
from everything I've seen, the combat and just all the things you can do, it looks awesome. It
Yeah,
looks
it-
over the top
it
and
looks
goofy.
pretty.
And that's half the part. That's half the reason that Kingdom Hearts is good is because it's over the top, goofy, fun, and the story is amazing.
paired with kind of the Final Fantasy
Yeah.
nature of kind of overly complicated plots that are nonetheless engaging and interesting to follow
Exactly,
along.
but it has Disney involved in it, so it's like it's fun for everyone. It's fun for the people who like that Final Fantasy convoluted RPG stuff, but it's fun for people who aren't into that stuff, who like Disney stories and stuff like that.
I'm hoping
It's a
as
game for everyone.
I'm hoping as a very casual Kingdom Hearts fan, I
Mm-hmm.
can jump in and not care about the Square stuff and just play through these Disney worlds
I
with the
think you'll-
characters that I enjoy.
I think you'll be able to just fine.
I feel like they'd be smart to design the game that way because
They have for
if
all
they're
the other
only
ones.
depending on fans of their game that was released 12 years ago, I think that's a misstep in marketing. So
I think and this will be my last point. I think the kind of the hardest thing with Kingdom Hearts is that when people think Kingdom Hearts, they think Kingdom Hearts 1 and they think Kingdom Hearts 2. But there is so many more games that are tying this whole crazy story together that most
Some
people
with some really bizarre names.
yeah, like some people don't even play them because they have no idea. So I hope that they kind of do that with 3 where it doesn't feel like it's just a game to tie everything together. It's Kingdom Hearts 1, Kingdom Hearts 2, and Kingdom Hearts 3. So if people just look at those 3 and play them, they'll be satisfied.
yeah,
So
I
We'll
think
see.
that's the way to do it. I hope they do.
we will see soon.
A game that does have a release date, though, as of earlier this month,
Mm-hmm.
or last month, is Red Dead Redemption 2,
Oh,
which I mentioned when we had our looking forward to 2018 conversation.
we mentioned it last week too.
Did you?
Yes,
Yeah.
briefly.
That this is one of my most anticipated games this year. I can't wait to get my hands on it. It's coming out October 26th, so late in the year, which is kind of out of character for Rockstar. They usually go for like a May, June date for their big releases, but this is a game too where you want them to take all the time necessary to get it right. Dan? Are you looking at this document as well?
No, I was looking at something else real quickly.
Okay.
So
So
R.I.P.
but
I
yeah,
didn't-
no, I'll pull it up. I'll pull it up.
Well, I didn't add these things to the document, but there's a few bullet points that kind of talk about what was
Yeah,
announced alongside
I think,
this.
I think that Zach threw these in here. And,
Okay.
And Zach is still MIA.
So he mentions a battle royale mode, which is interesting to me because I don't know that there was multiplayer in the first Red Dead Redemption. But battle royale is all the rage these days.
Mhm.
Something like that in a big open area like
Yeah.
Red Dead Redemption's map could be awesome. And Wild West, you got dynamite, you got train tracks, you've got all kinds of 6-shooters, horses. There's a lot of cool things you could do with a battle royale type game in that scenario.
Yeah.
They do talk a little more about Red Dead Redemption Online, which I imagine is probably something similar to what we saw with Grand Theft Auto 5.
Mhm. That would make sense. I played a little bit of that. And
Oh,
it
did
was-
you?
Yeah.
I never touched Grand Theft Auto 5. What did you think of the multiplayer?
It was good.
Okay, so I didn't dive into it very much. There's kind of two main modes, it seemed to me, and maybe there's more now. I don't know. But there was you wandering around the overworld, and it was just, it was open world chaos. If someone wanted to come along and take you out and take your money, they absolutely could. So you had to make sure to go deposit any money that you earned when you got up to a certain amount, so people wouldn't come and kill you and take your money. And then there was the mission mode where it was more like you played with just a friend or a group of friends, and you go and select a mission and you'd complete that mission together. And that would be no one else is in that. As soon as you were done with that, it would drop you back in that open world with that money, and then you would have to make your way home and put that money in your bank if you wanted to keep it safe.
Gotcha.
Which usually wasn't hard, at least the few times that I did it. So.
Okay.
Zach, you're back. We
We
just
need
got to Red
you.
Dead Redemption 2, and you added all the like details on
So
it.
we were just rambling. We didn't actually know what we were talking about. We were just throwing out random
speak for
concepts.
So I
yourself.
guess this is a good point. While Zach gets himself resettled and figures out where we're at, I did just see something we didn't talk about right before this, but Paragon, made by Epic Games, got shut down, or is getting shut down.
With Paragon.
You know Fortnite?
Yes.
The company that makes Fortnite, Epic.
Oh,
made
God.
Paragon. Paragon is essentially a Smite competitor,
Oh.
but they just
it's a
never
game.
they never put it all together. They never got it to stick in any configuration they put it in. So they announced that they're shutting down the servers, and they are offering a full refund to anyone who bought the game on any platform.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was that
That's
a full release? Was that early access or something like that?
I
or-
don't know if it quite made it to a full release. I think it did. But yeah, it never stuck.
You said it was
So-
a MOBA?
Yeah,
Yeah,
along
see-
the lines of Smite. I didn't play it. It was not terribly popular.
Yeah. I mean,
but,
that's the thing with other MOBAs, though. Like,
Yeah.
you,
But I think the reason, I think probably things that contribute to them being able to do that is that, one, they license the Unreal Engine. So they probably make bank from that. And two, they have Fortnite, which is another Battle Royale game that is competing with PlayerUnknown Battleground. And that is growing in popularity a lot.
Yeah.
So, and that relates to Red Dead Redemption 2 because you put this in, and I was wondering
Yeah.
if you had more details on this. The Battle Royale mode possibly in Red Dead Redemption 2?
Yeah, so I mean, everybody's kind of they're rumoring it. All the games kind of moving towards that because it's such a popular mode. But it's just rumored to maybe be in RDR2.
Okay.
But
Do you know any more about Red Dead Redemption Online?
no, I know who is GTA's.
Rockstar?
No, it's not Rockstar. It's
2K.
2K.
Oh, yeah.
That's
2K.
the publisher, I guess.
Yeah, so they talked about how basically it's gonna be. They want it to be as detailed and in depth as GTA Online, but they want it to be a completely separate game. They don't want it to be relatable. They don't want it to be like a competition for GTA Online.
Well, I mean, there's no cars. There are horses.
Yeah.
This is a huge flat landscape, unlike GTA, which is very vertical. You got tall buildings and stuff like that. And the weapons are going to be completely different. So I think just by virtue of those things, it's going to be a
just
very
the
different
setting
experience.
differences.
Yeah, but
Possibly
I think they plan on them coexisting.
Yeah,
Which is gonna be
smart
interesting.
for them. Yeah, because GTA and GTA 5 and all GTA games really have really, really long legs. They
Yeah.
just keep selling and selling and selling for years after they've released. And having these online modes that get embellished upon and like features added constantly is just going to keep those sales coming in longer and longer. They're among the best-selling games of all time. So
Yeah.
if they could get Red Dead Redemption to a similar place, I don't know that it could ever touch GTA numbers, but I think it's smart of them to try to extend the legs to get
Yeah.
more sales
And
over time.
I think that they have a good track record as far as like, AAA games that have traditionally been single player in the past. They've done a way better job at introducing online features that are enjoyable as compared to like Ubisoft that has been pretty hit or miss that way.
Yeah, that's true.
But one thing with EA talking about is microtransactions, how much money they make from it, though. I wouldn't doubt.
We did have about a whole episode on microtransactions,
Yeah.
so we'll
Yeah.
try to keep this
Yeah.
somewhat brief.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
where are we at currently with this stuff?
Well, they're bringing it back. They aren't saying how. I don't think it's gonna be exactly through power ups and game, bonuses and stuff like that.
Did they mention
But
any
they're gonna bring
specific
back-
games, or is this just general information?
It's. I mean, they're gonna keep them throughout like all their games because I mean they own rights to mobile games, Battlefront 2, basically everything. Call of Duty.
In the respect that they took microtransactions out of Battlefront 2, I would assume that them coming back is probably referring specifically to that.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, Scott can attest to this too. There are ways to do microtransactions better. Essentially, I mean, if you're letting people just buy
Yeah.
cosmetic things, that's
Overwatch.
from a gamer's perspective, not an issue. There are ways to make it an issue, but there's definitely a sliding scale of what's offensive and what's not, and I guess we can hope that they decide to scale it back in terms of what you are buying.
Yeah, but with the money they're making off of it, there's no way they're gonna stop.
Oh, for sure.
You've got some numbers, some hard numbers, right?
Yeah. So
These are sickening numbers, by the way,
So EA is
for a
continuing-
pay-to-win game.
Yep. So I mean, this is across all their platforms. So mobile, PlayStation, Xbox, everything. 1.23 billion in profits last year.
And that's total.
And that's
That's
total.
everything together.
787 million of that is live services, so microtransactions, and then 230 million is just in game sales. So almost 3 times
Yeah.
the profit in
Wow.
microtransactions alone. So there's no way they're going to get rid of them
That is
unless the law brings them down.
Which they're actually working towards and considering it gambling for kids,
Right.
which is illegal.
Right.
So
That hasn't been in the news quite so much in the last couple of months.
It
but
should be.
I
Right.
don't-
I mean, that's the news cycle. You
If
know,
they can-
something's interesting for a little bit, and then something else is more important, and they start talking about that.
if
Yeah.
they can throw a big enough fit to get the ESRB a thing and make ratings for games, why can't they ban microtransactions from games like this?
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. I think the ESRB was actually a voluntarily set up thing by the video game industry because they knew that it would help people essentially say, oh, okay, so you have a way of regulating who's buying your games.
But what sparked that was Mortal Kombat with its violence.
Yeah, you're right.
So-
You're right. So, whether it's a legal thing or a self-imposed restriction by the, game industry, whatever it ends up being.
Yeah, if they just kept
Yeah.
making
what
remakes
you're
of
saying.
Pac-Man, they probably never would have had the whole rating system, but they didn't,
Right.
So, and I think that with this, which is kids who are 13, 14, 15, giving money to EA but not really kind of understand, I feel like it's
And
something that they should make a bigger deal about it.
And it's not just that, it's also coming at it from kind of like a brain development thing. When you're younger, you are more susceptible to essentially falling prey to gambling addiction
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
having that stuff present in games at that age, not only are you potentially taking advantage of people who don't know what they're doing, you're also potentially
Harming them.
harming them.
Yeah.
And
Like-
that's the concern.
Britain, and this is just an example. If your kids were playing Battlefront and they had your credit card and they bought $50 worth of, loot boxes, you'd be pissed.
Yep,
You'd be absolutely livid.
sure would.
And
My kids are smart though. They would do that.
yeah, I know. I'm using an example though, but it's like they wouldn't understand. So you wouldn't get mad at your kids. You would get mad at EA for putting this BS thing in their game.
Yeah, which is exactly what gets parents and legislators fired up in the first place.
Exactly. And it's something they should get fired up. It's something that should be dealt with. EA is still known as one of the worst gaming companies of all time. It's been number one for like 3 years in a row.
It was 2 years in a row a while back, and
Yeah.
I think
It just hit one
did they had it did
recently,
they have it again? Okay.
very recently. And that's what it makes me very angry because it's like I've been there. I have put money towards loot crates and
I
stuff
have as well, yeah.
I have put money towards Overwatch, but that's all cosmetic stuff. That's stuff that you don't need to buy. But it's like for a game like Battlefront, you feel like you have to buy it to just be equal to the person you're playing against, which I think that's really, really crappy and unfair on their part. If it was all cosmetic stuff, fine, whatever. That's
Maybe when they
different.
reintroduce it, it will be just that.
No, they
we don't
won't.
really know.
They will. I promise you. EA just wants a hand in the pocket.
Yeah.
They clearly don't do it by their video game sales. They clearly do it by doing this.
Well, what I can tell you is that if you want to hear more about this stuff,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I don't remember which episode it was.
It was like 4 or
It
5.
was 4 or 5, but you
I-
can go back and listen to me
yeah.
talk about it for
I
like
get-
half an hour.
It sounds really crappy,
Um,
but it's still very knowledgeable.
yeah.
Yeah.
I am sorry.
Yeah, we
I don't
can-
mean to
we
get
can-
heated about this.
Yeah, no, I understand.
My
Believe
whole
me.
my whole thing though was that Red Dead and GTA aren't going to go away.
Good.
Because those microtransactions are just going to keep it alive, and they probably make more profits off of that than the game itself.
But it's not pay to win stuff.
No, I mean, in a way, you can buy money, or you can buy weapons and gears and cars and stuff like that.
Can you do that in GTA 5?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's all like that's you're not ranking up. You're not getting a rank. You're just playing for fun to play for fun.
True.
In
A little
Battlefront,
more playground style. than
yes.
Can I give you a little insight?
combative?
please do.
Have you played GTA Online?
Shut
at
up!
all?
I hate you. No, I'm joking. Yeah, of course I have.
So, I mean, jumping in as a new player, you jump in, you don't have anything, you don't want to put money towards, buying in-game cash.
Mm-hmm.
So when you jump in, you're just, oh yeah, I want to go fight people, or go shoot something up.
Yeah.
And you get in, you get wrecked by these, level 100 players
Yeah.
that have spent, hundreds of dollars on gear. It just makes it not.
It's
fun.
frustrating, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. But
You know.
I just think that EA is doing it a little differently than Rockstar is. They want you to earn. Apparently, they want you to earn things and feel a sense of accomplishments.
Right.
Oh my god.
So Zach,
I
why
hate EA.
Why
Well-
do you think, considering all these things, why do you think Microsoft may be interested in acquiring EA?
Yeah.
I read that is gonna boost their basically their software capabilities, and then it was a quote, but it's basically gonna make them the Netflix of video games, with access to so many third-party titles.
That's a really ambitious thing. For
We're not
EA to
talking
think
about
of
any
themselves.
any kind of streaming stuff. I guess I don't get the analogy, the Netflix of video games.
So basically, Microsoft has a pay-to-play kind of video game streaming service, and so if they bought EA, they would have access to all their titles, and they can stream that over their service
Interesting.
without any restrictions.
EA must cost a lot of money. Do you guys know what they're worth? I have no idea.
Yeah, I
but
don't
that
know.
would be a huge acquisition.
Billions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Microsoft's gaming division at the Xbox brand is not all that successful and never really has been that successful for them, but they constantly just throw money at it and dump money into it in big ways like this.
Yeah,
This is a rumor, but if they went forward with something like this, it seems kind of risky on the whole. They're a very wealthy company. They have lots of money based on their other endeavors, but
Yeah.
to
There
just-
was another rumor too, right, that they were maybe thinking about doing the same with Valve. So it could partially just be that they're looking to acquire large gaming studios.
the other concern, I guess, is what would that mean for the third-party presence of these games on other consoles?
Mm-hmm.
Like, are we still going to see EA games go, across the board, multi-platform if something like this were to happen? I would like to think yes.
Well, there's some precedents. Minecraft is owned by Microsoft now.
That's
still,
true.
It still is on all these platforms, and it's still supported on all
But
those
that is
platforms.
post all these platforms though. They didn't buy it and then distribute it. It was already distributed.
And that's true, but EA does have a very well-established presence on all these platforms. I mean, they have tons of sports games, and if sports games go away, like what
You would think
that's an entire sector that's just like, where else do they have to go?
and they would probably lose a ton of money from pulling games from all the different consoles.
Yeah,
and
no, and
systems.
I think it makes more sense
To
for
keep it.
Microsoft to whatever they pick up for them to keep those games multi-platform.
yeah, that does make more sense. Do you guys want to talk about Nintendo a little bit, or
When don't we, Brittin?
I
Yeah,
know.
of course. No,
I'm
for
sorry.
sure. No, I want to.
I always
know.
I always defer to Nintendo when I don't know what to say.
It's all good. I want to actually know about. You're gonna be very surprised when I say this.
Tell me,
Tell me about indie games.
really?
Yes.
Wait.
Do we want to do indie games now, or do we want to do Nintendo?
I want to do
first?
indie games.
I
now.
am
Okay.
surprised to hear you say that. This isn't specifically Nintendo centric stuff though, because I've been playing a lot of indie games lately. They have all been on my Switch, of course, because that's my favorite place to play them.
How much do you think your Switch is worth besides the actual value of the Switch?
Don't ask me that.
Okay.
Then I have to come to terms with how much money I've spent in the last. 10
Microtransactions,
months?
microtransactions.
No, these are. I'm buying games. These
Oh,
are not
okay, got it.
microtransactions.
He's just
Those are
buying
different.
all of the games.
Pretty
Yeah,
much.
fair
I
enough.
think I have like over 40 games on my Switch already.
You are disgusting.
And looking back at my life, I don't think there's ever been a console that I've bought that many games for in that period of time.
oh,
ever.
before we continue, I don't want to forget this. Breath of the Wild is the best Legend of Zelda game of all time.
Agreed. Moving
cool.
on.
Cool.
Agree to disagree.
What?
Sorry, man. So you guys can cut me off at any time because there's a lot of indies I have.
Okay,
been
Dan,
playing,
what do you have
and
to
a lot-
talk about now?
That was good, Scotty.
Thank you.
Let me
Appreciate
talk
it.
about indie games.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, perfect.
cut me off if you.
Hey, Britton, talk
Dan,
about some indie
let
games.
me fill you in on some indie games.
Let's do it.
I want to talk about Celeste, which
Okay.
is one of the more recent releases. But before I do that, I kind of want to discuss Super Meat Boy a little bit, and you'll see why as I kind of go through this. Super Meat Boy came out on Switch recently. It's actually been
Was it a re-release or a brand new game?
no, this is a re-release of the original
'cause
Super Meat Boy.
I know they were coming out with a brand new game. So.
Yeah, Super Meat Boy Forever comes later this year, and I
Okay.
think that's on all platforms.
Sorry, I just want to make it clear.
Meat Boy first came out on I want to say 360, and it was one of their summer of arcade things that they used to do back in the day.
Yep.
Believe it or not, Microsoft was kind of at the forefront of indie games back in the day, as far as console goes anyway. Steam might be an exception to that, but on consoles, Microsoft was the one that was really curating and pushing for an indie presence on home gaming consoles.
Steam is kind of an exception to that. But then Steam ran into the shovelware problem of just anyone could release anything. Which they've
it's
since
hard to
addressed
sift
to a
through that.
degree, but yeah.
Yeah, there's just so many games on that platform. It's hard to find the good stuff sometimes. So Meat Boy is kind of this like tough as nails, really floaty, really precise platforming game.
A rage game.
Kind of, but there's systems in place to keep it from becoming that. Like every level in
No,
that
there's not.
game. No, listen, every level in that game is at max when you do it right, when you perform well, probably 30 seconds to a minute long.
Mm-hmm.
So when you die, you lose like no progress. There's no loading. The second your character dies, you're starting that level
But
again.
when you die 100 times,
Yeah,
you
and you
lose
will.
100 minutes.
And you will, but you're never like given time to think about what just happened. You're just playing again.
You never have time to
Man,
think
that-
about what you've
That
done.
takes me back to the first time that I discovered I Want to Be the Guy.
What's
It
that?
is this. It's some game that I mean, you have to go and search for it and find it on the internet, but it is a brutal platformer. It starts out, you have this level, right? And you're on the screen and you have to go back and forth, and there's a whole bunch of traps that are very deadly, and so you have to figure all this stuff out, right? So you go down, you finally figure out how to get down without dying. And it probably takes you 6, 7, 8 tries. And you go down to the next screen, and then you fall to your death.
Yes.
And it turns out
I
what you
love
were
it.
supposed to do is jump up in the first screen at the very beginning to another incredibly deadly level. And like,
So it's really just memorization to some extent.
it's memorization, but it is absolutely a game designed to be as frustrating as possible.
Oh yeah. Kind of a throwback to like the early NES platformers that were just brutally hard.
So I'm glad to hear that Super Meat Boy is brutally hard, but with kind of the forgiving factor of like 30-second.
I think you have to factor that into
Checkpoints.
games these days because we have, I hate to say it, gamers have a shorter attention span and a shorter fuse, less patience when it comes
I
to...
think gamers with longer attention spans play different games.
Maybe you're right. That's true, yeah. Anyway, so I played through Meat Boy in its entirety recently, and it was cool. I liked it. It's kind of floaty for my taste, though. It doesn't feel like weighted and grounded the way that the character moves. So you're kind of always factoring in the fact that he feels like he's on the moon, rather than like a Mario game where there's like this consistent, dependable weight to Mario when he jumps and when he moves around. And then shortly after I finished that, I downloaded Celeste, which in a lot of ways is very similar. But I'll tell you why it's different. It has all that brutally hard platforming, challenging stuff, but it also has a very, very charming and endearing and ultimately educational message to it. It's about a girl, and she's climbing a mountain. A girl named Madeline. She's climbing Mount Celeste. And when you start the game, you don't really know why she's there, what her motivation is. She's just very, very determined to climb this mountain. She meets people along the way, and almost everyone she comes into contact with discourages her in one way or another, tells her why this is impossible, why it's not going to happen. And despite it all, and despite her own doubts in herself, which are very clearly made, she keeps going. And she just, it's a vendetta for her. She wants to get to the top of this mountain. And like Super Meat Boy, every area is kind of a screen. You could kind of compare it to the levels in Super Meat Boy. Every screen you start has basically its own checkpoint system. So if you die on a screen, you only go back to the beginning of that screen. You're not going back to the beginning of the mountain or the beginning of the area that you're in. So she has a very few mechanics. It's just jump. You can hold ledges and climb, or you can do kind of a little short air dash to get around. And the platforming is awesome in its simplicity because everything revolves around getting around the environments and dealing with whatever environmental hazards they throw at you. They never throw extra mechanics that make the controls feel convoluted or intimidating. It's always very basic controls the way she gets around. But the charm here is not so much the platforming, the level design, which is top notch. It's very good. I actually thought it was better than Meat Boy. It's in this character's story and her drive, and you kind of come to admire her for what she's setting out to do. There's a point in the game, I'll try to be spoiler light because it's the story is half the journey with this game, but something happens that is physically represented in the game, and it's kind of a mental struggle that she's having, but it manifests itself in a physical way in the game. And for the rest of the game, she's kind of physically coming to terms with this mental issue she's having, and it factors into the way that she overcomes obstacles and makes her way up the mountain. So it deals with some mental health issues and things like that, but it does it in a very charming, sincere, and I think heartfelt way.
That's good. Having those sorts of metaphors can be really nice sometimes, you know, coming from the mental health side of things. Understanding what you're grappling with can make a huge difference. So like I have ADHD, and not knowing that when I was younger was immensely frustrating sometimes, because you know, it's like how do I do this thing that everyone else is doing and I can't get done. And then as I've gotten older and I've, you know, gotten treatment for it, it's amazing the difference just knowing what it is you're grappling with does, and like what it looks like, metaphorically speaking. So
I think you'd find a lot to like in this game, Dan.
Yeah.
I know you're not crazy about platformers.
I'm not, but you've made a case now, so maybe I'll go pick that up.
Yeah, even if you were just to play it for the story, they actually have some pretty clever help mechanics in the game that you can elect to use or not use. And it ranges everything from like you can do multiple air dashes instead of one, or when you fall in a pit, you just bounce back out of it instead of dying. So there's ways for anyone, even if you're not into platformers or you're not good at platformers, to get through the content and see the story if you want to.
Okay, how much is it?
I think it's $14.99.
Okay,
it might be $19.99.
All right, that's going on my list.
It's good. It's awesome. And then there's a few older indie games I wanted to talk about. But there's reason to bring them up again. Have any of you played Shovel Knight?
Of course.
I've watched.
Who hasn't? You've never played Shovel Knight?
I've not played it.
I love that
I've
game.
watched it, and I came to the conclusion that it looks like that mix of platformer and other things that just doesn't entice me that much. But it was fun to watch. It looked frustrating.
It's kind of like an amalgamation of it's a throwback to NES games. Mega Man, Zelda 2, The
Has
Adventure
that
of Link. There's a very heavy influence of that in it, and things like DuckTales. But what I wanted to bring up here, it's not so much the game itself, Shovel Knight, the original release, which came out a few years ago, but the fact that they've done a really interesting post-release support for this game. There's not robot boss. I'm thinking of Mega Man again. There's bosses that you fight in the game that are like the robot masters from Mega Man.
The Knights.
They're the Knights of No Quarter, I think they're called.
Yeah, the Knights of No Corner. Yep.
And you fight them all as Shovel Knight on your way through his campaign. But after it came out, they announced this plan where they were going to release campaigns centered around some of these knights, and they're basically entirely new games with, you know, a different viewpoint, a different story, a different hub area, and a different structure than Shovel Knight. So it was a really cool way to revisit the world, the art, the characters, without doing just, here's more levels for Shovel Knight to go through.
Oh, so like new mechanics.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
So the second
that's interesting.
The second release was called Plague of Shadows, and Plague Knight is one of the knights that you fight as Shovel Knight in the original game. And instead of I should say what Shovel Knight does first. He can hit with his shovel, and then he can also do like this pogo attack, like in DuckTales, like Scrooge McDuck does in DuckTales, or Cranky Kong in Tropical Freeze.
Yeah.
But then Plague Knight was completely different. He threw potions at enemies. That was the way you get around, because he's kind of like this alchemist character.
And he could dash around, and he could...
He did like air stalls when he threw his potions to get across pits and stuff like that. And then he has his full own upgrade system that modifies his potions, modifies the way he moves, things like that.
And that's all in the base game. That's
No,
like
so
Shovel Knight. Or
this
is this
is
new
the
one?
first DLC, which was
Plague Knight.
of Shadows.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then another DLC came out late last year called Spectre of Torment. Spectre Knight is another one of these knights that you fight in the original game. And
He gets a scythe.
he has a scythe.
It's awesome.
He does things like surf across rails on his scythe. he does things like air dashes through enemies. So when you're in the air and there's an enemy nearby, a line is traced through them. And when you hit the attack button, he'll kind of dash through the enemy.
It's like Fruit Ninja, but with knights.
It's not like that at all.
Oh.
And so all of his challenges as far as enemies go, his platforming is based around these new mechanics. He can also run up walls. So there's one more night that's coming out, and I think this is the last one, unfortunately, because I really like this concept. It'd be kind of cool if they did all of the nights. But I realize why this studio, who's a small studio, and this is their first project, would want to branch out and maybe try something different going forward. But there's another one coming next month, I believe, called King of Cards.
Yeah.
That'll be the last one. And
For
I don't know
King
much
Knight.
about his mechanics yet,
Nope.
but I just really appreciate this approach to DLC because I've never seen anything like it before.
And
It's
they're coming out
basically
with
new
amiibos.
games.
And they're coming out with amiibos.
And
So-
there's a 3-pack of amiibo coming out for the nights that accompany
hyped.
Shovel Knight.
Get
So then
hyped.
to kind of summarize that, because I want to make sure I picked up on the right details here. They're still platformers, but they're platformers that have different mechanics implemented.
Correct. Radically different mechanics. So
Okay.
they feel like you're playing a different game almost, but
So it's not like what like Blizzard does, for instance, where you have Hearthstone and Heroes of the Storm both like pull IP from their different products.
correct. No, it's not like that at all. They're very much platformers. They
Okay.
just have a different set of mechanics. And
Yeah.
their stories are all pretty well conceived and charming and interesting.
Yeah, that's
so
cool.
there's
though.
reason
That's
to
really
play
cool.
all of them. And then, along with Spectre Knight, the one that just came out, they basically released like this package you could download. Instead of downloading the games individually, it's called Treasure Trove. And if you download that, you get the 3 that were already released, and you also get King of Cards when that comes out, which is next month. And that's about $25. So you get
That's not a bad price.
a lot of game for your money.
Yeah,
in that
you'll
package.
sink at least, I don't know, 10, 15 hours into Shovel Knight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Maybe a
I'd
little
say.
bit more, yeah.
I mean, there's optional things. There's all kinds of stuff you can spend your time doing. There's
Hidden
a huge
stuff.
upgrade system where you can
Yes.
unlock different armor, different uses for your weapon, things like that. Did you play a lot of that, Scott?
I did, yeah. I beat the
Okay.
game. It was
Okay.
a lot of fun.
You didn't touch the other ones yet?
I have not. No, I haven't
They're
had
cool.
a chance.
You should look into it.
I want to buy the amiibos and open them, but I wouldn't do that because I'm not a dirty amiibo opener.
You know I will.
I know
already
you
have
will.
my open Shovel Knight amiibo on my shelf. The other 3 are going to look great next to them. They're
What?
toys, man. You got to play with
They're
the
not
toys.
toys.
Oh.
They're collector's items.
Sorry.
Yeah. Get it right. What else do we got on the docket? We got a little bit time.
I mean, I could tell you about a few more indie titles if you want.
Yeah, go 2 or 3. How's that sound?
That's cool. Do you guys like A Link to the Past?
Never heard
Legend
of it.
Zelda,
Move on.
A Link to the Past.
Yes, of course.
Do you?
I like Link to the Past. I like
It's my favorite. Well,
like Link-
Zelda 2's up there, but it's one of my favorite Zelda games.
There are a lot of those Zelda games that are like the like top down Game Boy, Nintendo, whatever. A lot of those I've played a bit of, and so I always mix them all up.
This
in
is
my
the
head.
Super Nintendo one. This is
Yeah.
essentially Zelda 3 came out.
Yeah, I
Shortly
don't
after
think I've played a
SNES.
lot of that, but I've probably.
Have you ever
started
played
it.
Link Between Worlds, where like you can go into walls and stuff?
I
Yeah,
have.
It's the same
great.
game.
It's a
It's different,
successor.
but it's the same kind of map.
Yep, yep.
It's actually it might be the exact same map layout. to be
That's a
completely
good,
honest.
it is. It's the same world
Yeah.
map. Yep.
Same
I've
exact
played a
world
little
map.
bit of that one.
It's like that.
So this game. Ooh,
Whoa,
This-
calm down.
sorry, I got
Jeez.
excited there.
I
This
know.
game
Hack the
came out.
mic.
This game came out recently called Blossom Tales.
Yes.
And it's very much a love letter to that game. Not that style of game, that game specifically. It's about this girl who becomes a knight and goes on an adventure, similar to what Link did in that game. And every aspect from the visuals to the mechanics to the way items were rolled out to the way puzzle solving works is a very, very direct homage to A Link to the Past. So if you like that game, it's worth checking out. It's well made. It couches the whole game in sort of this Princess Bride style setup where a grandpa has his 2 grandkids by the fire and he's telling them a story. They're like, Grandpa, tell us a story. And he actually starts out by saying, did I ever tell you about the boy in Hyrule? So they
fun.
do not shy away from referencing Zelda. But then he goes on to start this story, the story of this girl who becomes a knight. And it plays out a lot like Zelda. I played through the first 2 dungeons. And I liked what I played, but there's a lot of stuff coming out, and I got pulled away from it. But if you like that kind of game, it's totally worth checking out.
Good to know.
Yeah, totally. And then I'll talk about one more indie game, because there's a lot on this list. Crypt of the Necrodancer.
I played a little bit of that game.
Yeah, I remember
This was-
recommending it to you on PC.
Yeah, this is a
back.
few months ago. Quite a few months ago, probably.
It was a
now.
while back, yeah.
Yeah, Brittin recommended Crypt of the Necrodancer to me. So it's a rhythm game.
Yep.
It is a rhythm game. So there's a beat in the level, and you move to the beat.
Yeah, you see this constant, almost metronome at the bottom of the
Right.
screen that keeps time with whatever track is playing on that
and
level.
you're moving around in just like a regular grid in a dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
And so depending on how fast the song is, you have to make decisions at different rates. Like at the beginning, it's about 1 per second, something like that. And you can decide not to move on some of them, and like you'll take like a penalty of some sort. But it's
Right,
not a
I
big
mean,
deal.
if
you
you
have some
move-
flexibility.
If you move or take an action on the beats consistently, multiplier goes up. That leads
Right.
to more gold
that's what
drops
it
that
was.
you use to upgrade your character.
But
And-
otherwise, it's like it's basically a dungeon crawler. I mean, you're walking around, you're looking for treasure, you're fighting things, and you're looking, I think, for the next level, like a ladder or staircase or whatever.
A way down. It's actually very much, it's a roguelike, and it's very much like the original Rogue. What a lot of roguelikes don't do is the one-for-one movement thing, and that's what a lot of roguelike purists will tell you is important to Rogue. So in this game, it's essentially turn-based, but you're moving in real time. Every time you take an action, all the enemies on the screen get to take an action as well.
Right.
And since you're doing that to a beat, it gets very hectic because you have to keep that pace if you want to keep your multiplier going.
It's a fun game. I definitely would recommend it. Why is it on the list again?
Because
Out
it
of
just came out on
curiosity.
Switch.
Oh, okay.
And I'm playing it again.
Could you talk about Faye or Fee?
Oh, you know what? I don't know much more about that. The reason it's on this list is because there was some news about the studio behind Fee. We actually I incorrectly said when we originally talked about this that this was an EA game. And EA is publishing it, like we talked about, but
Okay.
it's not an EA studio developing it. It's a small studio, I think they're in Sweden, called Zoink.
Okay.
And a lot of people have their eyes on Fee. I heard on a podcast that is the way it's pronounced. Fee. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
But it's spelled like the chemical symbol for iron.
right. It's just
F-E.
FE.
Okay,
Fee.
Dan.
So I don't
Smart
have any more
guy.
details on that game, but the studio behind it, which looks to be a pretty darn talented studio, is joining forces with Image and Form, which is the studio behind the SteamWorld series. They've been around a long time. They've made, I think, 4 games in that series now, and I've played both of the SteamWorld Dig games and enjoyed them immensely. SteamWorld Dig 2 just came out last year, and it is fantastic. So I've had my eye on this studio, specifically Image and Form, since I played SteamWorld Dig 2. And the fact that they are now kind of joining forces with another very capable studio and sharing resources could mean really cool things down the road from both of them. So I'll probably check out Fee too when that comes out. That's like I think it's a February release. I think it's very soon.
Yeah, I'm keeping my eye on it. So.
Yeah, it looks good.
I guess so. We've mentioned Nintendo a few times in the last couple minutes. Nintendo has some cool sales numbers here. If
Exciting
you want to go
stuff.
over them a little bit, Brittin.
Yeah, really. So at the end of December, the Nintendo Switch had hit 14.8 million units sold, which is 9 months. And those are kind of staggering numbers. I think I couldn't tell you, I couldn't give you references on this, but I've read things to the effect of it has outpaced pretty much every other console in terms of speed of sales.
Yeah, in at least partially, in certain countries or
Yes.
by certain measures or whatever. And we're coming up on that first year here, released at the beginning of March last year.
Yep. Yeah, but it has surpassed Wii. It has surpassed PS2 and PS4 in terms of speed of sales. So we don't know that momentum is going to continue indefinitely. We don't know if that means ultimately it's going to surpass the lifetime sales of these systems.
And a lot of that depends on whether they have more big ticket titles like they did last year with Zelda.
We know
and
they're
Mario
coming.
and
We
all
just
of
we
that.
just don't know if they're this year.
Right.
Like those are on the docket officially. They're announced. We just don't know when. When Pokemon hits, we know
Yeah.
there's a huge bump coming.
Yep.
And if they can maintain this momentum, it's on track to do some amazing things. Labo's coming, Scotty. Labo,
What's boxes?
you in?
No.
No. Well, I have kids, so I'm definitely gonna get it. It looks
mean,
like
yeah.
fun to me.
Yeah. Meh.
I have some news here.
I don't want to hit boxes.
Is this breaking news? Is this like right now?
I don't know how you guys would feel about it, but QuakeCon is returning.
Yeah, I don't care. Moving on.
Did it take a break or something?
Apparently, but
Okay.
it's returning in August.
They realize
And
they're
it's
like
doubling in size.
they're realizing they're like, man, we haven't came out of the game in like 5 years. Maybe we should bring back this con and announce something.
Yeah.
So they're doubling their land size. They're having events, all kinds of stuff going on.
That's cool. Where is it?
I don't know actually.
Thanks for nothing.
Yeah, I know, right?
I'm just kidding.
Great information here.
Before we jump away from Nintendo, there's a couple other things I wanted to talk about. Mario Kart Tour. They've announced their next mobile game. There's 3 or 4 now, I want to say. Miitomo was the first one that actually just got shut down. So it ran for about 2 years. It was more of like a social networking experiment than it was a game.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed somewhat popular at the beginning, but it never really caught on. It was never making them a lot of money, so that one's been shut down. Then they released Super Mario Run.
I think that was the next one.
That was
yeah.
the next one, and that was basically a pay up front and you own it kind of model.
Mhm.
And so it really seemed like they were testing the waters with different approaches to mobile releases, and that did all right for them too. I don't think it made them a ton of money.
After that was Animal Crossing, right?
Yeah, Animal Crossing is the most recent one that just came out last.
They had
What did we
Fire
miss?
Emblem.
Oh yes, Fire Emblem
Oh,
Heroes.
yeah.
Dan, you played a little bit of that.
I did play some Fire Emblem. Yeah, Heroes. I still follow the game a little bit, even though I don't play it. And it's a mobile gacha game, but it's
Yeah.
fun. It has the Fire Emblem mechanics.
I think
So-
that one has actually been the most lucrative for them.
Yeah.
And I think it's been the best supported post-release as
I mean,
well.
I think it has more game to it than the rest of them too. So that's part of what helps.
Yeah. So the next one on the docket for sometime this year, I don't think we have a date, is Mario Kart Tour. It is a mobile Mario Kart game. So, I mean, we could speculate a bit, but I'm curious how this is going to make its way onto mobile, both in terms of pricing and in terms of controls.
Yeah.
I feel like tilt controls is probably the most obvious assertion, but
Yeah, we'll see.
I don't know.
And then-
I would prefer personally for it to be a game that you buy and own rather than something filled with microtransactions.
Mhm.
They have officially said it's going to be free to start. It's a
Okay.
pretty common term. So
Yeah.
there's almost certainly microtransactions, but we don't know if that's you're buying tracks or if that's you are paying for some kind of coin you need to enter in
Right.
races or something like that. It's hard to say.
Okay.
It's a cool idea. Mario Kart is one of their more successful mainstream franchises, Nintendo's. So it seems like it
Mhm.
could stand to make them a good amount of money on mobile, and it makes sense that they would pick this as their next release.
Yeah, I'd agree. That it seems like a logical attempt anyway.
Yep. And then this actually was announced a few weeks ago, but we've never really. I don't think we've talked about it on the show. The Mario movie that's in development.
Is it? I don't. Never mind. I'm not gonna say it.
So what? Just no.
I was gonna say, is it gonna be as good as the original Mario movie?
That joke's been made a billion times.
I know.
It's not live action, thank goodness.
Oh, it's not. Wow.
No, this is an animated movie, and it's,
Is it an anime?
I said animated CG.
Oh.
What do you want from me?
Scott was about to lose it.
Yeah.
Me and
Mar-
Dan would binge it together.
Mario anime.
yeah.
I actually really like the sound of that.
No,
That could be fun.
no.
It
They,
just
they have other
Let's go.
franchises.
Pulls out a giant sword. It's
pretty good.
Energy blast from his hands. This is some Dragon Ball Z type stuff.
I am
man.
so down for that.
Mario.
So it's being made at Universal Studios by Illumination, and say what you will about Illumination, but they make a lot of money. These are hugely successful movies. I haven't seen any of them that I can think of. They've made the Minions movies, Despicable
Oh,
Me.
yep.
Do you want to know another movie that
They've
was
made
announced
Sing,
that they made?
The Secret Life of Pets.
No. This is a video game movie that looked amazing. It had a trailer. The Spy Cooper movie.
Sly Cooper.
Sly Cooper, yeah.
That came out.
They made
No,
a
it
movie?
didn't.
People didn't like it.
It did not come out.
Am
It
I
was-
thinking of Ratchet and Clank?
You are thinking of Ratchet and
Okay.
Clank.
Okay.
Sly Cooper. They had a trailer for it. I'll show you. It looked amazing.
Who was it? The studio?
I don't remember.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
It was like a trailer that came out probably about 6 years ago.
Okay.
Thank
So-
you.
That would have been amazing.
It would have been.
I would have funded that myself.
The trailer looks amazing too. It's like really well done.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So, well, we don't know how this is going to look when it finally comes together. I do have a little excerpt from an interview with Miyamoto because he is executive producing this project, which,
Oh, now I believe
Just-
it in a little bit more.
I mean, I don't feel great about the studio behind it. And part of that's just that I haven't seen any of these movies, but they all seem like really slapsticky, stupid movies. I could be wrong. Have you guys seen Despicable Me or
I have.
Minions?
It's
I fell asleep.
I've seen Despicable Me and Minions. They're better than they look. from
Are
the
they?
get-go.
You
Yeah.
enjoyed them?
I did enjoy them.
Are they like that really smart, hip, snarky kind of comedy that is in all
No.
kids programming these days?
I mean, to some degree, but it doesn't feel like forced that way.
Okay.
I know there's some things that feel that way, but
Okay.
Yeah, no, it was good.
So this is a quote from a recent investor Q&A from Miyamoto when he was asked about why they chose to team up with Illumination and Universal specifically.
They're
for
really
this
good at
project.
kids movies.
Well, there's got to be more to it than that, right? He says, I've been considering an animated film for many years now. There has long been talk that Nintendo could make a movie because making a game is like making a movie. But they are completely different to me. So clearly he wasn't interested in like helming this thing himself. Interactive experiences are completely different from non-interactive media, and to make a movie, I want a film expert to do the work. Thinking that way, I've talked with all sorts of different movie directors and producers, and eventually I was introduced to Illumination via Universal Parks and Resorts, with whom we are developing theme park attractions. We've never mentioned this on the show either, but Super Nintendo World is coming to Universal Japan in Tokyo.
Yeah.
They're shooting for 2020.
And I mean, that's been a thing that we've been aware of for a while now, right? I mean, that wasn't a recent announcement.
Right, yeah,
So
that
it's-
was announced
it wouldn't have
at
come
least
up
a year
here.
ago. But it makes sense that at some point they would at least consider Universal to team with for the movie.
Yeah.
He says, as a producer, Chris Melandri, which is the CEO of Illumination, is noted here for movies like Minions and Sing. But he... so confused. But he is a veteran with a ton of experience, including movies like Ice Age and stints with companies like 20th Century Fox and Animation. When I talked with Chris, he said he had read a lot of interviews with me and felt we had a similar approach to creation. Talking about our similarities, we clicked and decided maybe we could do some kind of collaboration.
Oh, cool.
So
I'm
it sounds like
looking-
he has faith in this particular director, in his vision for the movie in the studio, and his direct involvement gives me faith in it too.
Yeah.
That
Well,
it'll
that's good.
turn
I'm
out to be
looking
something
forward to
cool.
it.
Well, I guess we'll come out with more information when it comes out.
Yeah.
If it comes out.
We'll all go see it together. We'll do a live
No.
reactions right afterwards.
No.
I refuse.
Fine.
Yeah, I'm not going to
Well,
see it
in the
with you.
meantime, we're coming to a close, I think, right now.
Yeah.
So I wanted to just throw in a quick plug. I had my first streaming experience this last Monday. I had a few people come watch. It was a lot of fun. I think some of those viewers also listen to the podcast. So thank you guys again. I'm going to give that another go this next Monday. So
I'll join you.
stop in.
And-
Scott will join me. I think we're going to continue our Civilization game.
Oh,
And
please.
where can you find us at?
Oh
Well,
yeah. So
We're not. Oh.
Well, that one's on my personal stream. We're working on getting the VGRx podcast Twitch stream set up so that it'll host me, and you can watch me there or on my stream or whatever.
Yeah.
Easy peasy.
Cool.
lemon
And then
squeezy.
find us on Facebook and YouTube's.
At
That's,
video-
that's where things go up
Video
at.
Game Pharmacy.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
else, Zach? You know all the social medias.
Yeah,
You made
just-
them all.
Just find us at Video Game Pharmacy on all the social media.
That's easy.
Easy
Easy peasy.
Keep it simple. You want to
Right.
keep it simple.
Find us on Tumblr, on MySpace, all the social media. You know how it is.
Foursquare.
Stop. Okay.
AOL Instant Messenger.
Oh my gosh, we're done. Okay. Thank you guys so much for listening. As always, thank you to Brittin,
Thanks, guys.
Zach.
Thanks to NWCZ Radio.
Yes,
Mhm.
Dan,
That's me.
and then of course to NWCZ Radio for letting us use their studio. As always, guys, we will see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
See you later.
The pharmacy is now closed. Is now closed. Is now closed. Is